Here's a question that I want you to sit with before we dive in. What if the reason that you are playing small is not because you're afraid that you're going to fail? What if it's actually because you're afraid that you will succeed? What's going to happen if you actually do succeed? I see this all the time. I see it in my own life. I see it with my kids. I see it with the women that I speak to. And that is, we have these beautiful ideas and goals and visions of what it is that we desire. So for our context, if you have a business, you dream about maybe scaling, about increasing your revenue, about hiring a team member, about maybe even starting a business. And there's this part of you that truly, truly wants to show up for that. And there's also this other part of you that's afraid of what you will have to sacrifice in order for that to be so. What will happen if you finally have those numbers in your bank account? What will happen if you finally have a full client roster? What will happen if you finally have a team that depend on you? In this episode today, I want to unpack this. How can we hold both this desire to really step forward and create an impact, and at the same time, we have this internal conflict of, will we be able to handle that? Is this not going to cost us too much? Let me give you 3 beliefs that I see really fold around this all the time. These are really deep-rooted blueprints, I almost want to say, that is present in us. And as I go through these, I want you to feel into them, see if any of them resonate, and you might find that one or even more of these resonate with you. I know certainly for me, along my journey, most of these have resonated with me. So the first belief is that successful people are pushy. And the way that I see it is basically through your life experience and through all of the things that you have learned about yourself and the world. At some point, you create this foundational belief that in order to be successful, it means that you need to order other people around, you need to be in their face, you need to be hard-nosed, you need to force people to do what you want them to do. And of course, if you hold this idea that being successful means that you are actually pushy, you are actually forcing people to consider you and to do what you want them to do, of course, everything inside of you is going to fight against that, because I know that if you are watching this, there's no part of you that is pushy and that wants to make people do things against their will. You might even have this idea that successful means that you have to promote yourself constantly and you have to harp on about your own benefits and about the things that are so wonderful, and that you're so full of yourself that there's no space for anyone else in your sphere. And again, the question that I have here is, what is your image of a successful person? If I ask you to imagine the most successful person that you can think of, what comes to mind? All right. So these images that we have and that we hold internally can be very, very telling. So the second limiting belief that we hold is that successful means aggressive. All right. So this is kind of the cousin of what I spoke about in the first instance. And so often, especially in my trainings, when I speak to women about confidence and what they feel might limit them from just embodying the state of confidence and really embracing this aspect of them, a lot of times the answer that I get is they don't want to be aggressive. And so we have this link in our mind that confidence is aggression. Success is aggression. Successful means bullying. It means, again, in your face. And it costs you kindness. And so if kindness is core to your identity, if this is something about yourself that you treasure and that you believe to be so true of you, then this stands in direct conflict with your idea of success. And then limiting belief number 3 is that if I become successful, I will lose myself. And this is not about business tactics. So you can try all the business tactics in the world, but if you have this existential crisis on the inside, without sounding too dramatic, that says that if I am successful, if I finally hit those consistent 10K months, if my books are finally full, if I can finally leave my 9 to 5 and I can fully support myself financially with my business, then I'm not going to be the person that I know. And your nervous system and your brain has got one job, and that is to keep you safe. So at any point in time, if you are going to stretch your comfort zone beyond the space where it is safe, if you're going to move out of the circle where everything that you know is no longer present and you're dealing with the unknown, it makes us feel unsafe. And your body, your mind, your nervous system, it's going to do everything that it can to bring you back to safety. It's a wonderful mechanism that we have, but it can work against you if it runs away from you. And so this is one of the things that I work with my clients in my programs, is to really show them how to use this incredible ability of your body to your advantage, how to use the natural intelligence and the wild wisdom that you have within you to create the success that you want. So let's pause for a second here, and I want you to do a check-in to see which one of these beliefs resonate the most with you. And as you do that, what I want you to know is that these aren't like the typical limiting beliefs that you get on an Instagram quote. These are really protective strategies from your nervous system, from your brain. They serve a purpose. They aren't just flippant limiting beliefs, and they are there for a reason. And if you can uncover the reason, if you can unravel where they anchored into your nervous system, this is how you can begin to break free of them. So I want to dive in a little bit deeper into why these patterns are so powerful and how they get stuck in place. So a key thing to understand here is that we aren't motivated by goals. Like, you're not motivated by the goal of a designer handbag. Instead, we're motivated by who we are being and who we will become and how we will feel once we have reached that goal. So who is that version of you, and how will you feel when you walk around with that designer handbag? Psychologists call this possible selves. And here's the kicker. You are only ever going to move towards that version of possible self that you feel connected with. So if you are here as your authentic self in this moment, who you truly are, and you have these goals and these visions of possible selves in your future, only those that connect with you, only those that feel aligned with you, those are the ones that you are going to move to. Now, the problem that we have, as you might probably surmise from what I've just shared, if one of these versions of the possible self is potentially someone who's pushy, who's aggressive, who is not kind, then everything inside you is going to resist moving towards that future self. And if the vision of another future self is pretty much aligned to where you are now, inside that comfort zone, you have what you have, you do what you do, and everything is known, then it's going to be quite easy for you to stay on the path and to move towards that version of you that you already know. Now, if you have ever experienced this going forwards and backwards, it's almost like you with one foot on the accelerator and one foot on the brake. This is an incredible thing that our bodies does. It can hold two different states, feelings, emotions, or thoughts at the same time. So on the one hand, you have this desire to move towards a certain goal, a certain future self state. On the other hand, so you're moving towards it. On the other hand, you have this limiting belief saying, I don't want to be who it's going to cost me to be to go there. And so you're breaking. And what this creates is internal conflict, which is directly affecting your actions. And this is why you feel like you can't get into action. This is why you feel like you're constantly procrastinating. This is why you don't do what you're supposed to do, even though you know what you need to do. Why you can buy all the courses and do all of the training and have all of the workflows, and you still don't go over to action. This is why you hire team members, but you keep on doing everything yourself, and then you let them go because simply you don't have enough work to give to them. You can look at it as having a goal that creates both a desire and fear. So you want to grow your business, but you fear being visible. You want to grow your team, but you fear having other people being responsible on you. You want the bigger business, but you also want to run from it. So both of these things can be true to us at the same time. And this is where the beauty of becoming sensitive to the feelings and the sensations in your body, to knowing the language of your body, is so helpful, because now you can consciously choose to focus on the desire, to feed the desire instead of defaulting to feeding the fear, because this is what we do. This is how we've been wired in order to survive. our focus is always going to go to the fear. So we can be careful so that we don't put ourselves at risk, so that we survive. And again, in a business context, this is not very helpful. So let me see if I can take this from like the abstract and bring it down into the real world. Now, I've got 3 main ways in which this can show up in your business. And the first way is that marketing feels salesy, and so you don't like it. It's icky. So what this typically looks like is maybe you write the sales page or you write the caption, and then you read through it, and then it doesn't feel right, and you go back, and then it feels icky, and then you delete that completely, and then you take the actual pitching where you're making the offer, you're hiding it somewhere in between the lines so that it's not so obvious and in your face. Perhaps you don't even write the price on there. And I am in no way, shape, and form in favor of any bro marketing where we hustle and force people into doing things and buying things that they don't really want or need. And I believe that we need to get more money into the hands of more women, because this is how we begin to change the world. And if you have a business, you're going to have to learn how to do marketing so that you can grow your revenue, so that you can create more impact, so that you can expand your legacy, and so that we can begin to change the world. So the question that you can ask yourself, a little bit of a reflection here, if marketing is something that you feel icky about, is what is your idea of asking for the sale? If you say, hey, I have something to offer you and I'm going to ask you to pay me so that I can share this with you, if that makes you feel, and just notice as I said that, how that make you feel. What decision have you made about people that do that? And what decision have you made about yourself if you are going to ask for money, if you are going to promote yourself and your products? So a little bit of a reflection question for you there. The second way in which this can show up in our businesses is if you reject strategies because they feel inauthentic. And I know that I have done this myself. So you see that there's a strategy out there. Maybe there's someone that teaches a certain strategy, and you know that the strategy works based on the results that other people get. So you know that it works. And yet you decide that you're not going to do that because it feels inauthentic. It feels too pushy. It feels too aggressive. And so, again, a conversation that you can have with yourself and a reflection. What do you base this on? When did you make the decision that putting a certain strategy in place where you take people through a process means that perhaps you are forcing them to do something against their will? And if there is any sense of this, I invite you to go and sit with that and explore that and see, is this really true? Is it true if you have a wonderful gift and something that you can share with the world, if you make it easy for people, if you facilitate the flow of them going from when they begin to learn about your product, your offer, or your service, all the way to where they buy, if you make that process easier for them, does it mean that you're forcing them? Or are you taking hurdles out of their way so that they can get results and resolution sooner and quicker, instead of it making you a pushy person, forcing people to do things against their will? And then the third way in which it shows up in our business is that we continue to stay small because it preserves our sense of integrity. It keeps us familiar and in the familiar. So we keep being who we are, even though we don't have what we want. It can be so subtle. It can look like, oh, I don't want to make a big fuss. I like to keep things simple. I like to keep things very uncomplicated. I'm just not that ambitious. I don't want a big empire. And yes, that might be true. But so often these are things that we just hide behind, stories that we tell ourselves in order to stay small. Now, I want to talk a little bit about playing small, because I really dislike it when people go, oh, you just need to step up. You just need to, expand your comfort zone. You just need to be a little bit bigger and a little bit braver. And I always say that if it was easy, then we would simply do it. But sometimes it can be really, really hard. And if you find yourself in a place where you know that you've been playing small and you believe that you should just get over yourself and step up to the plate, I want you to stop chastising yourself and stop being so hard on yourself and really hold yourself while you then think of ways in which you can maybe change the perceptions that you have and resource yourself and resource your nervous system and create safety so that you can stop playing small. It's not simply a mindset thing of take more action. There's a reason why your nervous system is keeping you safe. And as long as you believe that being successful means that you are going to be unsafe in any way, shape, or form, you will always play small. And might I just add that there's a deeper layer for women that we also need to consider, and that is in the world, we are commended for playing small. You see it where we sell like big bulking up packages and weightlifting packages for men, and women always need to go down to a size 0 or be smaller and slimmer and more petite and more feminine. And so we also have the social conditioning overlay that says playing small is a good thing. Playing small is desirable. And this, just before I get any comments, this is really playing out on a subliminal level. So even if you don't buy into this cognitively, even if you know that it's a pot of nonsense, it can be so deeply ingrained in our DNA that it plays out and you don't even know about this. So it's helpful just to have this conscious awareness of where playing small potentially is also supported in the world so that you can consciously go and change this. Okay, so I'm going to leave you with your homework for this week. If your brain associates success with a version of yourself that it doesn't want to become, there is always going to be resistance. It doesn't matter what you try or how hard you're going to try and break away from it. Your nervous system always wins. You can stick as many layers of positive thinking and visualization and affirmations and trying to, catch all your negative thoughts on top of your actions, but your nervous system always wins. And so we want to work on the level of the nervous system. We want to create safety inside the body to step into that level of success that we truly desire. And the first step is to first get clear on what does this success look like for me? Because you can design your success. Your version of success is not the same as my version of success. It's not the same as your colleague's version of success. So step one is to get clear on what do you currently see as success? Like what false visions, ideas, beliefs, and constructs live in you? What undesirable constructs live in you as far as success is concerned? And then once you've clearly identified those, you move on to step number 2. And step number 2 is what do you want to design instead? What do you want success to look like for you? How do you want to show up? How do you want to move, speak, talk, dress, the whole spiel? And that's your homework. Start building a future self that you actually deeply desire to become. Now, I want to hear from you in the comments. Let me know which one of the 3 beliefs or the 3 ways in which these beliefs show up in your business are true for you and resonated the most. I want to hear from you. Let me know in the comments. Thank you so much for tuning in today. I so appreciate you, and I'll speak to you in the next one. Bye.